So, Atlas, what's the last thing you remember with your journey with Oberon and Titania?
A lap pillow.
A lap
I mean,
pillow.
that's literally the last thing that happened was Titania asked Atlas to put his head on her lap.
I mean, you're not wrong.
That was literally the last thing that happened.
uh, and Oberon asked what you wanted to gain from being in the Feywilds, and I believe you said confidence.
Yes.
Um, Meanwhile, I think Mushman and the ghost child, were playing in the fields.
They were, but Mushman did join Atlas
Mm-hmm.
with Titania
Right.
because she strengthened the bond between Atlas and Mushman.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With the lap pillow.
Yeah.
I suppose that would strengthen bonds for some people. So anyway, Atlas, you
Me.
are talking to Oberon, mostly Oberon at this point. You're outside the cottage, and you let him know that what you seek is confidence. And Oberon smiles. Well, I suppose that you could always catch yourself a fish.
Fishing.
Yes, there are many fish here in this lake that. And Atlas, I'll also take a perception roll from you too. Ba-ba-ba. You know, you feel like there might be like a slight disconnect, slight slip in your vision, but overall you don't really notice anything. And Oberon continues, yes, there are many fish here in oh, let's swap this. Let's swap this. Many fish here in the pool around our village that eat from the hazel trees quite often.
You just want me to catch them?
That's right, if you can catch one of them, I'm sure it'll do wonders for your confidence.
I mean, I could try. Fishing is pretty peaceful.
That said, I have no fishing rod to give you. You'll have to figure out how to secure them yourselves.
Okay.
And Oberon doesn't really need to show you where the pool or the lake is around the village, because it's fairly clear.
Atlas is just gonna start walking towards the lake, towards one of the many lakes.
All right. And how do you plan to catch one of these fish?
Uh, he's probably gonna try and make his own fishing rod.
All right. Um, give me 2 survival checks. One for making the fishing rod, one for using the fishing rod.
And I use my major aspect since I'll probably have read many books on survival, which includes fishing.
Mhm. I'll allow the aspect for fishing, but not for the making of the fishing rod.
Okay.
Still a very nice fishing rod. Very good. So you make yourself a pretty sturdy fishing rod. You find some vines around. You know, uh, you know pretty decently how to make yourself a hook and whatnot. Uh, and as you go to fish, you're pretty confident in your abilities to uh to catch fish, and you actually do get one on the line. Um, you know, you bring it back slowly, but as it jumps out of the water, because you consider yourself pretty decent at fishing, and because you are decent at fishing, you your concentration's laser focused. You keep your eyes on the prize, but for a second, your eyes actually meet the fish's. And I'm gonna take another perception roll from you. Not bad. Um, so when you make eye contact with the fish, you feel like you were hit by a deep amount of knowledge. Uh, Not necessarily that it's transferring to you, just that you're witnessing something extremely wise, and it actually makes you very comfortable and sleepy to the point that you begin to pass out. But as you do, for just a moment, the the world around you flickers, and um, the village appears withered and dead. But it's just a momentary thing before you pass out. And when you wake back up, you're at the edge of the lake, and the village is still as beautiful as it's always been.
Atlas is just gonna rub his eyes and look like, did he catch the fish or did he lose it?
It ended up getting away.
And Atlas is just gonna try and catch one more fish.
Catch more fish?
Yes.
Is he going to take any special approach, any precautions for catching this fish?
No, he's gonna keep with the same approach he's been doing already.
Alright, give me another survival roll. So once again, Atlas's fishing skills are not put into question. Um, and Oberon even comes to a boulder next to him and just kind of watches with amusement as you catch another fish, and as you reel it in, uh, you try to avoid looking it in the eye when it jumps out of the water, but eventually you get it out of the water, and you can't avoid looking at it as it is more or less in your face, and you end up passing out once again. Give me another perception check. Um, yeah, you don't really see anything this time, but uh, let's see. Give me a decipher intent check. You don't notice much, but you do end up waking up by the lake again, and the Fairy King now seems more bored of what's going on, and asks if you learned nothing from your first attempt.
I, I may have, but I just want to make sure.
And he walks away. Well, keep keep at it, I suppose.
I was just going to keep fishing.
Is he going to change anything at all?
He's probably going to change spots, but he's probably going to keep with the fishing rod for now.
All right, give me that survival check. All right. So, changing locations, you end up reeling in a fish. You you instinctively know better than to look at it, so you pull it out of the water. But once you go to handle, well, rather, when you pull it out of the water, what do you do with it?
Since I don't even know what I should be doing with it, I just release it back into the lake. It's like I'll catch it, I'll hold on to it, and I'll put it back into the lake.
Hmm. Um. So once you actually catch it, and then release it back into the lake, uh, The Fairy King ends up walking up behind you, clapping. Well, you certainly managed to catch one of them at least. You know what those are.
Down.
Those are the salmon of knowledge. Have you ever heard the story before? What was it? The story of the salmon that feasted on hazelnuts dropping into its pond day after day. Well, I suppose the details aren't that important. You caught one, you released it back in. Do you feel any better for it?
I, I don't know. I wasn't told to eat it or kill it, just fish it. So I fished it and I put it back in the lake.
Hmm. In a situation like this, in a village like this, I suppose that's a pretty sensible thing to do. However, Atlas, you need to realize that within this story, within this world, you're definitely a player. And if you continue to only do what you're told, everything might fall apart around you. If confidence is what you seek, then perhaps you should try to acquire it by building experience.
And you want me to get the experience by fishing.
Hmm, well, the real prize is eating the fish, but I like your approach as well. That said, it seems like we're running out of time.
I'm
And as you ask, you'll see the beautiful Fey village slowly turn black and the leaves start to die. Yes, time. And the beautiful fairy king will slowly start to age.
Atlas will start backing away slowly. Wait, what's happening?
You know, fairies live in many worlds, not just yours, but as all of those worlds collapse, what do you think happens to us?
You you either find a new world to live in or you collapse with it. It
Hmm.
depends on the perspective of the person.
Well, that would be great for most creatures, but creatures like us survive on the belief in us. Names carry power, after all. And while this world is very, very hospitable for us, as all the worlds around us collapse, soon everyone will forget who we are.
But all you need is one person. No? as long as one person remembers you, you'll never be truly forgotten.
Well, that's sort of right. But that said, you wanted a hero's journey, right?
I mean, close to it.
A
I,
journey to help you build up your confidence, for you to make a decision and to see actual results from it. Something like that, right?
yeah,
Well, you're not gonna find that sitting around here.
I look upon the pond.
And in the pond, you see most of the water has dried up, but where it hasn't, you see algae and whatnot infesting it. You don't see any signs of fish.
Athos is gonna just stand up. He's gonna put the fishing rod uh, on the ground by the lake. And then he's just gonna go find Mushman.
So it doesn't take you long to find Mushman running up to you, wondering what is going on.
I think it's time for us to go. And Athos is just gonna slowly start walking out of the village, with Mushman falling behind.
So as you leave the village, you make your way back into the woods, but you notice that they're a bit. Hmm, I don't want to say creepier, but they're definitely not as lush and vibrant as they were when you first came in.
Upon seeing that, Athos is just gonna like try and stay more alert as he's gonna keep walking down the trail.
Um, so since you're more alert, make a perception check, but I'll give you a +2 to whatever it is.
So instead of +4, it's +6.
Yep. Um, so as you walk by, you notice plants, bushes, but you very much understand that they are just plants and bushes as you continue on.
Atlas is just gonna keep moving, but he's still gonna keep trying to keep an eye out.
And at one point, you walk by the fence of the cottage that you were once at, though you don't see its mystical nature inside. Um, but you do notice a black, white, and red cat all playing together on the fence.
But does the house still look the same, or does it fit with the whole forest aesthetic of a little bit more creepy?
Hmm, I wouldn't say creepy's the right word, but it definitely lost a lot of its nice touches. It's now square, mostly made from logs. It looks like something that you might have built yourself, honestly.
Atlas is gonna walk around the house to see if there's anything else that looks suspicious around it, or if he can see any lights from inside.
I'll take another uh perception roll. Or actually, I'll take a survival roll. Yeah, so the most suspicious part of this cottage is the lack of suspicious parts of this cottage. You were just here for a few days, and everything about it was pretty fantastical, and you don't notice any of that. As for lights, it does seem like there's one on inside the cottage.
And what's behind the house?
Um, a stable, but it looks broken down, caving in.
So Atlas is just gonna go towards the front of the house. He's gonna look at Mushmon and just tell him to like keep watch. If anything happens, go go ham in the house. And then Atlas is just gonna walk towards the door.
You told Mushmon if anything happens, go ham inside the house?
Yep. Like if Atlas tries to goes in and then something happens, just like start attacking.
Hmm.
And Atlas just starts going towards the house.
Alright. So, you go inside the cottage then.
Well, he's just going towards the door
Mm-hmm.
and he's gonna knock.
Um, there's no response to you knocking.
I'll try and push the door open.
The door opens with a creak, and I assume you go into the cottage a little bit, step or two to take a peek.
I'll just peek out my head in and I'll just yell out like, "Hello?"
So you notice it's much smaller, bookshelf with like no books on it. Um, and you just see a small table with a bitterly old lady who can barely move sitting at it, staring at the table.
Atlas will look at the woman, and he's just gonna be like, "I'm looking for Baba Yaga."
And you'll see the old lady look up at you, and her eyes are glazed over. Clearly can't see, but for a moment you see what looks like life flash into them before it diminishes again. Who am I? Where am I? Who are you?
Uh, my name's Atlas. I don't really know where you are or who you are.
Continuing to look at the table. Atlas. No, he was far bigger, far stronger. Given a burden, he could barely stand. What are you doing inside this house? Is this my house?
Can I take a better look at the woman to see if I could discern any traits from her?
Alright, give me that perception check. That's let's see what blind Atlas can see. um you're
I'm
having
more blind than a blind woman.
you are having trouble even making out her the shape of her body in the dark, even though it's illuminated by like a lantern. um yes, you don't really notice anything particular about her.
I, I was just taking a stroll and I saw this house. It just called to me.
And she stops and thinks for a moment, rocking a little. Do you just enter all houses you see?
I I don't. I knocked. There was no response. I saw there was a light, so I just pushed the door and it opened a little bit. And I just wanted to make sure if there was someone in or not, because the light could be a fire hazard.
Fire, fire. And the lady'll stare into the light. Who am I? Where am I? And she'll look towards you. Who are you?
Atlas is just gonna keep staring at her, trying to figure out exactly what's happening.
What are you trying to figure out?
I mean, Like, is the flame causing her to forget things, or is she just old that she's forgetting things?
Um, I guess I'll take a knowledge check from you. So, the words kind of ring in. Thanks for the sub stars, but the words kind of ring in your mind a bit as every encounter with the Fae seems to have a very similar theme that uh, names are power and that being uh, those being forgotten continue to lose their power.
So Atlas is just gonna stand here and he's just gonna go, I'm looking for Baba Yaga. I was told she was in this vicinity.
And the elderly woman will look at you again, light kind of returning to her eyes before fading. Ooh.
Uh, Baba Yaga, she's a witch. I was told by the Fairy King Oberon and Fairy Queen Titania about her.
Who is that? Baba Yaga, she says. Baba Yaga. Who is that? Where are they?
I think I think Baba Yaga's somewhere. I was told she resides in a cottage. And well, here I am in a cottage. So I'm trying to figure out if there is a Baba Yaga.
And almost like a broken record, the woman will start looking at the table again. Who am I? Where am I? And look to you. Who are you?
Atlas is going to go towards the table. He's going to sit down beside her. Like, not. He's going to sit on a chair near her. And then he's just gonna like look at her and he's gonna be like, "My name is Atlas. We're in the Feywild, and I believe you are Baba Yaga."
And for a moment, you you see life return to her, and it almost even seems like some of the age melts away as she stares at you and quickly places her palm on your chest, saying thank you.
You're you're welcome.
And as you go to respond to her, you feel yourself being almost ejected from where you are, and you feel the world warp around you for a moment before you find yourself next to Mushman in a grain field.
Atlas is gonna stand up slowly because he has just suffered a lot of spitting, and he's gonna look around.
The grain stands tall around Atlas, but he can hear the arguing of two old ladies in the distance.
Atlas is gonna like smack Mushman up, wake him up. That's just a little bit, and then he's gonna start slowly walking towards the two elderly women.
And as he approaches, you can make out the words a bit more clearly, and it it almost sounds like a dispute you'd hear at like a job, as they argue about when their shift is supposed to end and whose turn it is.
Atlas is gonna keep moving a little closer.
And eventually you come to a spot in the grains where you find your way onto a path, and you can see the two elderly ladies not too far away from you, as they both stop and stare at you, a bit confused.
I'm just gonna stare back at them, even more confused. And then I'm just gonna go like, "Hi, where are we?"
Ignoring you, they'll look back at each other and is like, we'll just let him decide. Sounds good to me. And they'll come up to you. So tell me, boy, what season do you like best?
Like, fall?
And the older of the two ladies with white hair and a veil over her face will giggle. You hear that? He likes fall better. Wouldn't it be better if it was fall all of the time?
I mean, not always. We do need all four seasons in perfect harmony. I just prefer fall over the others. The cooler weather makes it perfect to stay home and read books while cozied under blankets.
And the slightly younger, red-headed elderly woman would kind of sneer at you, annoyed. Excuse me, it is just as cool in the spring. What, you think you can't read in the spring?
I mean, with the spring, there's a lot of rain. You can't really do much outside, like reading a book.
And without rain, there's no flowers. But the other elderly lady would say, shush, shush, shush. I think he's made his choice.
I mean, we all have our own opinions. I
Well,
prefer to fall for my personal reasons, just like you like your spring for your specific reasons. All
nice.
seasons are equally balanced and in perfect harmony, that one should not be overstaying their welcome for another. We need spring to help with crops and plants to grow and bring bring shade for the summer, bring the colors in fall, and then for the beauty of the white blankets of winter.
And the two elderly women will uh grab Atlas's cheek. Aw, listen to him try to seduce us old ladies like that. What was that, Atlas?
I just pinched my cheek and shaked it.
um, but they'll back away. Still, that's not what we're asking. We're in a new world, so we have to decide how the seasons work.
I mean, we get a for seasons we need a pleasant climate for spring and autumn, plenty of rain for spring, but not too much so that to cause water floods, warm summers with plenty of sun, but not too much to help the plants grow, bountiful fall for crops and cultivations, but not too cold that everything dies too quickly, and then a pleasantly cold winter, but not too cold to prevent people from going outside to experience the joys of a winter wonderland.
And the redhead will look at the veiled older lady. You hear that? Just 'cause you've gotten lazy from the human world and let me work too much, this boy seems to be fond of you. Maybe you should start putting in some legwork here like you used to. The older lady will look to the other one. Listen here, don't talk to me like that, Brigid. I was here before anybody. It's just I've been enjoying my time off. Those humans really messed up their world.
Who are you two, by the way?
And the one with the veil will giggle. Well, you've already heard of Brigid over here. She's gotten a pretty big head since she found her way into a few different religions. And the redheaded older lady named Brigid would look at the other one. This one you may have forgotten, but she's the mother of all fairies.
Anya?
No, no, much older than Titania. Titania's just gained some popularity. And then she'd look at the veiled one. You know, maybe I shouldn't even tell him your name. Maybe you'll just be forgotten entirely at some point. But then she'd think for a second. But that would mean more work for me. Never forget of the original fairy, Kalia.
Alia?
Kalia. And the veiled older lady'd be like, or you can. I wouldn't mind getting some rest. I've lived far too long as it is. They'd
So,
both look at you. By the way, thank you for breathing some life back into that old hag. And they'd look at each
mm,
other and laugh a little, since they could be referencing either of them with that phrase.
I mean, you ask me a question.
Oh, no, no. We mean Baba Yaga, of course. She was all but dead, and every time a crone dies, we get a little weaker, you know?
Well, you're welcome.
Although you definitely could have done more, they'd say, thinking about it. Her children still don't have their names, but maybe another time. Meanwhile, I believe you have things to take care of on the outside, right?
Uh, not really.
They'd both cover their face with their hands for a moment. Listen, child, if I have to bear the weight of summer, and the veiled one would be like, and that is much easier than bearing the harsh climate of winter. And they'd almost start arguing again. The least you could do is help those humans save that world over there. After all, if there's no world for us to govern, there's also no world for the fairies to be remembered in.
Which world?
They'd begin to laugh, and as they did, your vision would slowly begin to fade until it was blocked out completely, and you were surrounded by darkness. And what are you thinking at the moment?
Atlas isn't thinking about anything. It's just a jumbled mess of thoughts.
And as you're not thinking, It sounds like anxiety to me, but eventually everything goes dark along with your consciousness until you awaken. Not quite in the Fey Woods that you remember, but rather a bit outside of them. You can somewhat recognize the landscape as just outside of the Village of Beauty. Not that that's the happiest place to be, but
And Mushmon is right beside him.
yeah, Mushman is there with him.
Okay. So since Atlas can see that he's back in the digital world, uh, so from where he's facing, where would the Village of Beauty be located?
Um, Probably be like a 30 minute 30 minute to like an hour hike down a pathway that he's basically on the ground next to. From where he is, he might be able to just see the high rises of the walls surrounding it.
Right. So Atlas is just gonna grab Mushmon's hand, and he's just gonna start walking the opposite direction from the Village of Beauty.
Um, Now, as you do, you end up hearing what sounds like footsteps approaching.
Atlas will jump into the bushes and hide.
All right, give me a stealth check. Not bad, but that stealth check in the bushes is where we'll leave this session off. Atlas, we might have you back next week.
Woo, two-parters. And maybe again another solo session.
Unlikely. Unlikely. Um, but yes, you finally exited the Feywilds. You ran into some interesting folk in there, and they had they had their own stories. But now you're back in the mess.
I mean, I'm not in the mess. I'm back in the world with the mess.
Yes. Um, we'll also end the stream there. Thank you everyone for showing up and watching. Until next
Yes.
time.